it's Domi, the editor. I just figured I'd let you know that we decided to cut this episode in half because it was a pretty long recording session. So just if it cuts off a little suddenly at the end, that would be why. You'll hear the rest of this conversation very soon. Okay, I'll get out of your way now. Enjoy the episode. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Live Laugh Stuck. I am Jackie, aka Jax, and I was listening to some of my old episodes, and I remembered I used to have like this whole intro phrase I did, and this whole outro phrase, and I don't do that anymore. I forgot about it, and I don't remember it verbatim, and I don't know what it is. So you just get this, unless I decide to bring it back, which I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. Anyway, Moosie's here too. Hi, Moosie.
Hi.
It's so wild because Moosie's going to be on here because like this is called Moosestuck. Like you click on the episode or it plays or whatever, and it's like Moosestuck. And just imagine I start this and like Moosie's not here this time. It's just me.
Yeah. We just AI generated Moosie based on their tweets from like the past 15 years.
Yeah, and your notes. I just copy all
Yeah.
the Homestuck notes you've written so far and just like
Mhm.
dump those in there. It's like, okay, well, what's Moosie's opinion on Act 6, Act 7, Act 3, Intermission 5, or whatever?
X6735
Yeah, I don't know.
8675309.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, ring that one up. But no, this time so I forgot how these went. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll do Act 6, Act 4, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, Act 6, Act 4 is one video. It is one animation. It is one flash. And then Act 6, Intermission 4 was also pretty short. So it's Act 6, Act 4, Act 6, Intermission 4, and Act 6, Act 5. I love so much about the intermission and Act 5. There's so much in here. So much I love. How do you feel about it?
Is Caliborn just talking to himself?
He's
In
talking
the
to
black-
Hussey.
Oh, that's Hussey in the black text? Okay.
Yeah, that's the narrator / Hussey. Like the narrator mentions that Caliborn's already killed him. And yeah, that's because, future Lord English kills Hussey and they're now talking.
I didn't put that together. I was like, I thought maybe Caliborn was just talking to himself or something.
I mean, depends on how meta you want to get with Homestuck, because like I think about Homestuck is the more villainous we get, the more aware of the narrative of the more meta they are. Like Jack, OG Jack had the fourth wall, and then Doc Scratch took over the narrative for a while, and Lord English kills the author. So you can say like technically Hussey is arguing with himself because he is Caliborn because he's the author, but also the author is dead and Lord English has taken over. So Caliborn could also be arguing with himself if you want to look at it like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just say Hussey is Lord English. The end.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That is that's definitely a way to look at it. But yeah, so the animation is just like little glimpses of everyone getting everyone on their planets and just the names for the other lands we haven't seen. They all have to deal with the noble gases, which is why the Alpha Kids are called the Nobles.
I saw that, but I was like, is Krypton a real thing and not just a Superman thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a real thing, right?
I didn't take chemistry. I only had to take like a baby biology course in college. So
yeah, I was double majoring in psychology and biology for a hot second, and I didn't get super far in that before I dropped out. In high school, I took 2 chemistry classes, and my teacher was kind of a fun pushover, so we just like copied homework a lot. So what's chemistry besides setting things on fire? Yeah, Krypton's a thing.
Okay. I think always just heard of it in the context of Superman.
You know what? Now I'm going to look it up because I'm second guessing myself.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just like, people just don't talk about the element except just like theoretically, like it's my kryptonite, whatever.
Yeah, if I go crazy, then we'll. Sorry, that's what I think of when you say kryptonite. It's just the fucking song because I had it on one of those like Now 5 CDs and I listened to it over and over because this was before you could like look lyrics up on the internet or like
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a thing. So I re-listened to that CD to manually write down the lyrics of the songs I liked so I could memorize them. Part of the reason I was looking it up is to see if Krypton came before Superman, but yeah, it was discovered in 1898. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not gonna go down that Wikipedia hole now though, because we're doing a podcast, not about the noble gases, just the nobles.
I wouldn't be very useful at that podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel very useful at this podcast either.
You offer interesting perspectives because it feels rare to find people who are even like a little bit online who don't. I mean, I guess it's not too rare to find people who are pretty online who don't know a lot about Homestuck, but who don't know a lot about Homestuck and are interested in learning, who are interested in reading it still.
Or I was thinking earlier, like, honestly, I don't think I've been part of like a deep fandom,
Yeah.
like, except maybe like the stuff I really liked as a kid, like Xena.
Yeah. So my first real deep fandom was Dragon Age, like a year or two before Inquisition came out.
Hmm.
And then that fandom started to die down after Inquisition came out, and we had no idea when the next game was going to come out. And I ended up getting super into Homestuck. And it's so funny because I was talking to my mom because I was talking about it's like, oh yeah, like I started reading Homestuck in like 2011, 2012. She's like, oh, I didn't hear you talking about it until like 2019. I'm like, yeah. To me, it was just another webcomic. I read questionable content. I read Charby the Vampire. I read Something Positive. I read like dozens of webcomics, and Homestuck was just one of the webcomics I read.
Yeah, like I never followed along with any like story-based webcomics. It was always just what was the one with like the pink and blue cat that did video game stuff?
Was it just like VG Cats or something? I read that one.
Oh, it might have been just like random, just random little ones.
Yeah. I mean, questionable content used to be a random one, and now it's got like so much world building and shit. So a while ago, I was in one of those like like Homestuck fans will have role plays where like they have their fan kids like going through like playing Esperb and stuff. And so I had my introduction for my fan kid, and part of it was your interests include role-playing video games, stereotypical YA novels and movies, and a webcomic that starts off kind of slow but has really compelling characters who become more and more complex as the story continues and has blankly accepted sci-fi elements despite taking place in the modern world and ends up being filled with queer diversity. It's called questionable content. And that's one of the funniest things I've ever done. And that's that. But yeah, no, I didn't get super into the Homestuck fandom until I started my podcast, which is usually the opposite of how it goes.
Yeah. This makes me feel like I should have continued the comics I started when I was 12, where its title was Crap in a Box, but it was not about crap in a box. It was just a commentary on it being low quality.
That's fair.
Basically, a black hole invades our world, and then me and my friends go into a different world and have to navigate. And my sister is Plumber Noon, like Sailor Moon, except a plumber.
Nice.
So, like, we should have just kept going and then eventually had really epic battles or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too late.
I guess I could continue.
I have a blog that's have you read this webcomic? And there's still shit tons of webcomics. People are still fucking voracious about webcomics. I tried to start a webcomic and it had like 3 pages before I stopped. And it was called A Girl and Her Boobies. That was my embarrassing teen shit. Anyway, I forget how we got off on that topic, but Caliborn becoming aware of the narrative, because the narrative is like telling him what he thinks, and it's like dumb shit, like thinking bad things about himself, and he's pushing back against thinking bad things about himself, and so that's how the argument starts. I love so much. I love everything about this intermission. I am obsessed with Caliborn just shooting Gamzee with a machine gun while Elevator Stuck plays. I love Elevator Stuck so much.
Yeah, I went on like a website for ringtones to look for Homestuck sounds just to have for an alarm to remind me for the podcast coming up. And I was like, I could download Elevator song.
Yeah, fucking okay. This is so funny because like I wasn't in the fandom, right? So I once tried looking up like shit for ringtones and stuff too, and I kept coming across voice acting, and I fucking hated it. Not because I hated the voice acting necessarily, but I was like looking for music, and I just kept like finding
Yeah.
this one dude voice acting, and it's fucking Octopimp, who is just like the most like one of the most well-known Homestuck voice actors from back in the day, who is like moved on to like I forget what he does now. I forget if he like is still in voice acting or does some other shit. But like it's insane that I just like heard this guy and I'm like, this sucks. I hate this guy just because he was getting in the way of my ringtones. And he's just like one of like the core like aspects of the original Homestuck fandom. So sorry, Octopimp, if you're listening.
Yeah. I was also there were like, yeah, I think people just reading lines in some of those sound effects. I was like, I don't want random, I want official sounds.
Right, exactly. But yeah, thankfully I need to re-download a lot of those and customize my phone. I haven't customized it a whole lot since it broke and I had to get it fixed.
Yeah. If we actually texted via text and not Discord, your sound would be the Pester Chum sound, but I don't think you could set custom Discord things. Back in my day, you could do this on AIM, but it wasn't on your phone.
It was not on your phone.
Unless you downloaded a third-party program that hooked into AOL Instant Messenger.
I remember having Twitter on my phone was getting text updates whenever certain accounts. I got a questionable content had like the author Jeff Jacks, I don't know how to say his name, Jacks, made accounts for a lot of his characters and I got all of their tweets sent to my phone. That's how I kept up with tweets back in the day. Back when it was a new thing to not have to pay per text message.
Yeah.
This is the old podcast, the podcast of people in their 30s, the they thems in their 30s.
Yeah. Speaking of old things, I also miss my keyboard phone.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm done. I just turned 36.
Anyway, Elevator Stuck, fucking great. I love Elevator Stuck so much. I love just sitting there and watching Caliborn riddle Gamzee with bullets.
Lol. Pun.
I don't. This is something that doesn't usually amuse me in any other context, like this sort of humor, but it's so fucking funny. There's the tech issues. There's the, oh my God, I feel Caliborn. I hold shift when I type in caps. Like, even if I'm typing like multiple words or sentences, I hold shift the whole time. Just
what a weirdo.
My pinky is doing all the work. I don't like hold it and then like peck and type. I just hold it and I just type with the rest of my hand. So I always like resonated with Caliborn on that and basically just that, except for one thing that we'll get to later. But just to keep you in suspense, like, oh, what else does Jackie relate to with the worst character in Homestuck? Debatable. There's a lot of people vying for that title.
Thought Lil Cal was the worst character in Homestuck.
Lil Cal, Cronus got the official title for a while. That was the greaser, a humankin who hit on everyone. But I love the tech issues and the fucking that mouse. One of my exes had that mouse where you just had to like use your thumb for the ball.
Yeah.
And having to like crane your head while you're fucking like look. It's so good. And then whenever he hits the computer with the crowbar and you have to chase the next button, like even the quick, like the keyboard shortcuts to just go back and forth with the arrow keys doesn't work. You have to actually physically chase it. I love it so much. We get some shit about the 3 different kinds of doomed sessions, which we already kind of had before, except now we get Caliborn specific doom session, which is dead, which is a single player. The Colonel Sprite is a black hole, so his whole planet got sucked in. So he's not on his like own original like fancy planet like the other kids. It's just his planet, which is Earth, and there's no hope of creating a universe. Instead, he has different win and loss conditions.
Did it mention what those win and loss conditions were?
No.
Okay.
And then another thing in the intermission I didn't notate here, so I can't remember when it happened, but you notated. It's so weird because Roxy messages Calliope to tell her about their game entry. But like this happens whenever they first get in, but the Act 6, Act 4 animation we got, the flash we got, happens after that. So it just goes back in time a little bit for Roxy to try talking to Callie, who is unfortunately dead. And just like, hey, if you didn't understand what happened at the end of the last act, here's what happened.
Yeah.
You took a bunch of other notes on that. Anything in particular you would like to discuss?
I don't remember if I just don't remember any other plot points with denizens on worlds, but yeah, I only remember John like prematurely dying to a denizen.
Yeah, so this was kind of a one-line thing. I don't think it was mentioned a whole lot, but Jade ended up going to her denizen Echidna and figuring
And
out,
that's why she shrunk the planets.
yeah, because Echidna wanted
Okay.
her to take the planets.
Yeah, because I guess I keep thinking like I don't remember anyone fighting any actual denizens.
Yeah, I think Vriska mentions that some of the trolls fought their denizens, not all of them. I just can't remember how many actually fought their denizens or not. But that's off screen, like most of the troll session.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Gamzee is not god tier. He had other people get him the pieces of the god tier outfit. That's one of the sections of Mina Quest was Kurlos giving Gamzee part of the god tier outfit.
Okay.
No, he's not god tier. He's just a high blood and high bloods are really, really hard to kill. But also the explanation is he's a clown. You know, clowns just can't die like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean the official like, actual is like he's a high blood and they're just very hardy. Oh yeah, and Caliborn uses an Arsler. I didn't even notice, but like they were used so often in early Homestuck, and then Hussey got like better about it and just had to have Caliborn use it.
I guess it was to emphasize that Caliborn is a bad guy.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. He's a shitty little dude.
Everything like you read, you're like, I don't like this person.
Yeah, and Caliborn does have a learning disability, is the implication of a lot of the conversations. And he makes circles with right angles now. With straight lines.
Oh yeah. I wrote in my notes, we should teach Caliborn calculus.
As someone who has never taken calculus, what is the what is the meaning?
So a lot of calculus is like you're estimating, say, the area under a curve by taking infinitely many rectangles and taking the sum of the area of those infinitely many rectangles to approximate the curve.
Math is dumb.
Because for some reason we can actually get the curve. We can't get the curve area. We just gotta approximate it.
Yeah, Caliborn just innately understands calculus.
Natural.
Yeah, he just like he doesn't understand a lot, but calculus is just cemented in his brain. And then we go to Act 6, Act 5. We start with Jake, and he is holding the fenestrated plane. You had a hard time realizing this was Jake because the only difference between Jake and John is that their hair is swished a different way, and they typically wear different clothes. But that one time, John was wearing the outfit Vriska gave him, and it very much looked like an outfit Jake would wear. So who knows, really?
Yeah, I got confused because I thought that like apology conversation was like from Dirk's or Dave's sprite apologizing for being mean to John on his birthday, but then that's not what it was.
No, it was Jake apologizing to Jane for forgetting her birthday and her party.
Yeah. I mean, that was a little bit after because I think before that it was Dirk saying, do you want to go on a tomb raiding adventure?
Yeah.
And so I was like confused because I was like, is Dave apologizing to John? And he's like, let's go raid some tombs. When do they do that?
Yeah, no, it's Dirk. This is such a Dirk act for me. This is just like, I don't know. I didn't like super vibe with Dirk the first time I read it, but the second time I read it for well, maybe not the second, but when I read it for my Gay Stuck episode, this is where like Dirk for real clicked with me. Just I don't know if you want a little solitude or maybe if you finally got a case of the Strider fatigue. I could understand that. Like Dirk, my baby boy. Just him like Jake ghosting him and him trying to reach out and not look too needy and intense, but also like, what's up?
Yeah.
I'm not needy. What's up?
Honestly, I guess I kind of relate to that too after my 2023 Final Fantasy 14 friend drama fiasco.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh, you're just not talking to me anymore. okay, does everyone hate me?
That shit sucks so bad.
Mm.
Yeah, and I don't know, I love Dirk so much. Yeah, Jake forgets Jaden's birthday and does some exposition dumping.
Hmm.
And this is where the mustaches come in, because you were wondering why everyone had mustaches, but it was all just Jane.
Yeah.
Because this was 2011. Well, I guess like I remember fake mustaches being a big thing when I was in high school, but I guess it just continued for a bit.
Yeah, just weird mustaches on everything. Like I showed you that game I made from literally the year 2000, and I
Yeah,
had a girl counting sand and she had a mustache.
it's so funny. There's this post on Tumblr. It's like, hey, what happened to all those girls who got tattoos of mustaches on their fingers so they could pretend to have a mustache? And someone responded with, "We're not girls anymore." Just very accurate.
Mhm.
Yeah, Jane runs off, destroys her fucking mustache headset. Feta Sprite. Fafetta exists. So there's Fafetta.
Mhm.
There's implications that she actually talks, but we never see her talk.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much she actually talks and how much is just like they just get vibes and just have a conversation from vibes.
Yeah. I also was wondering, like, is there a slice of fandom that is dedicated to just coming up with all of the permutations of the possible A and B sprite combinations there are?
You know, I haven't seen that, but when you said it, there should be. I mean, there really should be.
Because I feel like that would be a natural evolution.
Right. Right. Like that should definitely exist. It's like, gem fusions, but sprites.
Oh, yeah. I still haven't finished watching Steven Universe.
What? Next podcast, make you watch Steven Universe.
I watched all that was available at the time, and then I stopped having that streaming service. And yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely fair. I definitely did not watch it through the most official of sources while it was coming out.
Yeah.
But it's good shit. But yeah, that's how I usually describe sprite fusion is it's like gems.
Mm.
And while everyone is off having drama, Roxy gets kidnapped by Godcat and taken to the Condis.
Yeah. I mean, before that, like, Jane just was having a bad day.
Jane was having a bad day and then gets harassed by Caliborn and has an even worse day.
Yeah, so she gets mad at Jake for just dumping all his brain blobs and stuff. It just also reminds me of Final Fantasy 14 friends who only text me when they are sad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then Caliborn's annoying, and then she gets abducted and goes to the purple jail.
Goes to Purple Jail. She gets knocked out, and we have a memory
Oh
of
yeah, the dream.
her, of her writing what is totally not Harry Potter parody fanfic.
Mm.
And then Callie finds her and takes her to this special place hidden away from everyone. And it's fine to take Roxy there because Roxy is a Void player. Just more explanations about people, what we learned in the Mina Quest sections.
She's a void player, so she returns no output data in her functions.
Yes.
Also, side note, I enjoy the hat based IRC chat on DERS.
Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to call back to when we saw it on Dad Egbert's phone back in like Act 3 or something. Just the most emergency of sitting on a hat. Well, you can unfrumple it by flipping it over and sitting on it that way.
Do not do this. I cannot condone this activity, gentlemen.
So fucking good. Yeah, Dad Crocker's doing fine. He's in a special VIP jail cell, which means he fucking gets whatever he wants except to leave, basically. Just fucking living it up. I love DD, the draconian dignitary. He's fucking great.
So in the secret place.
Yeah, so Callie is looking for her alt self from a Doom timeline that I think the term is predominated over Caliborn. And so it was, just had a stronger will and everything, and that, she might actually be the ultimate weapon sister that everyone's looking for.
And then there's supposed to be a terrific battle that will take place.
Yeah, that's how big stories happen is you got to battle the bad guy, but it's not one of the big revelations is it's not the kid's job to do that. It's actually Callie's job or Alt Callie's job to do it.
Mhm.
Even though like everyone's been assuming that it's going to be the kids who have to fight Lord English.
So all of that's going to happen off screen, and he's going to be dead, and we'll just continue having 50-page pester logs.
We'll see. But then Rose comes, and Rose is like, so Light is the opposite of Void. So Rose
Yeah.
gets a lot of attention on herself by being there. Callie's like, no, fuck no, get the fuck out. I love it because being a Light player is just to have a spotlight on.
Mm.
But yeah, Roxy's in a Durst jail cell, and she's given a folder of something mysterious that she needs to do that Roxy says is impossible, but we don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot to make a note of that.
Yeah, and apparently you can have gifts on physical folders now.
I just figured that was like the Queen's magic or something.
Yeah. So the contest is like the only one of the ancestors that is actually like the Dancestor. Like all the other Dancestors is like, I can't imagine any of you turning into the ancestors. Like I can't imagine Latula being Red Glare, right? But I can absolutely imagine Mina being the Condess. But I forget. I didn't write down how she found the magic ring.
Was that given to her by Gamzee or something? I don't know. Gamzee was around a lot for some reason.
Yeah, he's just in the background of panels that like don't acknowledge him at all from like but yeah, she gets a magic ring that she puts on and becomes invisible. Definitely not a Lord of the Rings reference.
Mm.
But because she's not really invisible, she can like walk through walls and shit.
Yeah, it's the Ring of No Clip.
It's the Ring of No Clip, and she tries to get a hold of Dirk, but Lil Hal has created his own autoresponder, which is just can only say 3 things. So she gets fucking nowhere with that, and has to continue on her own, and then we get the Dirk Hal conversation of all time.
The existential crisis.
The existential crisis, like the mutual existential crisis of both Dirk and Hal. Just, how much of the same person they are and what it means to exist and like who's really in control of who. And it's fucking great. I love them both so much. This section, this conversation is just like gives Dirk fans the most brainworms of anything. Because they're debating prototyping Hal because they have an empty kernel sprite, and they're like, hey, before that fucking clown does some weird goddamn shit, we gotta hurry this up. Because of course Gamzee's there.
Yeah. But for all his seeming bravado, Dirk is just a little guy.
Dirk is just a little guy. He is. And it's like a lot of the like mind games and manipulation that everyone like puts on Dirk is like actually from Hal. Which just so much of this, I'm just like screaming at the fandom and shaking them. Yeah, and just Dirk being tired of his own shit. And it's just like, because he's so self-aware. And I'm like, my baby boy, my baby little child, my tiny little man. I love it. I love it so much.
It does kind of feel like we haven't really seen much of actual Dirk, because there has been a lot of autoresponder.
Yeah. Like there are so many conversations that you think people are having with Dirk, and then it's just Hal. But yeah, so we haven't got a lot of Dirk. Like the most Dirk we get is he has a conversation with Jane about irony, and then the oh my god, Detective Pony. But there's not a whole lot in Detective Pony. It's just I've read some of the Detective Pony, the fan created Detective Pony, that is just very Dirk core. Yeah, it's very good. It's very good. I love it so much. But we're too late. They're too late. Something has already been stuck in the sprite. Equius is now part of the sprite. And I just love that there's a solid 3 panels, actually 4 panels, right? Yeah, 48, 49, 50, 51. I know how to count. That's just the same goddamn panel of Dirk staring at Equius, staring at Dirk and Gamzee in the background. Before Dirk basically says fuck it and tosses the glasses in, which creates the best sprite of all, Arceus Sprite.
Touch my muscles.
No one has loved to exist and be himself more than Arceus. It's so good. The fucking Roxy tries contacting Jake, who is too busy trying to cover up his boyfriend tattoo to notice until Caliborn starts messaging him. And there were some Vriska Caliborn parallels I wasn't expecting.
Oh.
Because, like, Vriska's whole thing, or part of Vriska's whole thing, was trying to, like, groom Tavros into, like, reaching his ultimate potential as a page, but, like, being fucking terrible to him at the same time. And, like, this is also what Caliborn's doing. And then Vriska's whole thing is, like, she orchestrated events, so she was the one who caused everything terrible that happened, because it's like, well, they're already going to happen, so I should be the cause of it. And that's what Caliborn says that he wants to do. Yeah. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I think Jake was really created in response to Tavros, because there's a lot that Jake says about hope that just sounds like what Tavros has said about confidence and believing in yourself, you know? Which means that Hussey fucking hates Jake. And anyone who tries to say that Hussey doesn't hate any of his characters, including Hussey, they're just wrong. Like, Hussey hates Aridin, Jake, Tavros, and Gamzee. He fucking hates these characters, and that's just all there is to it.
It'd be so hard for me to write characters that I hate and just keep with them. But
yeah. And then Roxy tries talking to Jane, who has destroyed or discarded all of her computers, because Jane puts on her tiara and fucking Condi comes in like, hey, yo, you there? Fucking you up text from Condi. And fucking Roxy, like, it's kind of, Roxy kind of mentions that maybe it's just like her voidy shit, which I don't know how much of that is like canonical. Like, she has the invisible ring on and she is a rogue of void, so maybe she is just kind of in this moment destined to be ignored. Or just like what gets talked about later is Roxy is the only person trying to hold this fucking group together while everything collapses around her. Porque no las dos, you know?
Yeah.
And then we get trickster mode, because Caliborn sends Jake the code for his juju, and Calliope sends Jane the code for hers, and they both mention how if you combine them together, it will be something like something ultimately powerful. So Jake sends re-gifts the code to Jane, who decides to put them together and is compelled against her will to lick the sucker.
To become like the opposite of a goth.
To become the opposite of a goth. To become a trickster. To become peachy. So I was going to try to find more sources for this before talking about it, because I wasn't there whenever it happened. I wasn't caught up to Homestuck whenever this happened. We're getting close to where I caught up with Homestuck. We're not quite there yet. But infamously, the point where Jane finds Jake and says she's feeling peachy, she previously said she was feeling Caucasian.
Which is a really weird thing to say.
Yeah, and again, I was going to try to look for explanations, because I sent you a screen cap of one that said, here are Hussey's 2 explanations for it, and that link was dead. And I just did not feel like digging through other stuff, because I had already looked at some other stuff on Google that looked like they were coming out at the same time that this happened. And some people were like, well, I don't know why everyone was mad about it. And I'm like, I feel like I can't trust your opinion on anything. And then others were paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of text. And by paragraphs, I mean there weren't enough paragraphs. There was not enough spacing. So I'm not reading that. But yeah, so basically it was just another, like, people are like, yes, a Hussey racist moment. Because the thing about the tricksters is they all look peach, where normally all the kids are just like white, and it's Hussey's like, well, it's because they're a racial, and you can put whatever race you want on them, ignoring the fact that Hussey has at multiple times referenced them as being, like, you know, white, like socially, culturally white, ethnically. I don't want to say ethnically. You know, it's a big thing. Like, who's considered white or not varies by culture and society and everything.
Yeah.
But the tricksters are peach.
I just kind of thought like maybe it was a really roundabout way to refer to like Peachy Keen, but I don't know. Because it is just such a weird thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is Hussey is still a person who was in their mid to late 20s in the early 2000s and had like a lot of actively racist stuff. Like, I mean, still like early 2000s edgy racist, but like it was racist. Like
Mhm.
Dave, who is basically a mouthpiece for Hussey at points, like has like on like Dave had a blog on Tumblr or and like some other shit, but has dropped the N-word in places, which is why some people are like, no, I'm only headcanon Dave as black, so I don't have to deal with the racist implications of that. But like, so Hussey is not a person known to be sensitive about race. Like, whenever people first started asking about what race the characters are, his first response was, they are any race except black.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his explanations were. I don't know what everything was about it because I wasn't there for it and I just did not feel like doing enough research for it. But I think it was kind of a poke at the fact that they've called the characters aracial and that there is like race discourse around the characters and around not even just the kids, but like, you know, Condi is black coded, like Mina and the Condis are black coded. People say Gamzee's black coded, but I think he's white trash coded. And white trash takes a lot of cultural stuff, especially like Juggalo culture takes a lot of stuff from like black culture. So I think there's just like enough overlap there that I just think he's white trash coded and not black coded. But that's my personal opinion. And I don't know. I've seen some people say some really weird things about black coded Gamzee that I think they're just digging too hard into stuff. But that isn't to say that there's not issues with being like, you know, with the how black culture gets appropriated by like that specific type of like Juggalo and like I keep saying white trash, meaning that to be like super. It's just like that's the, you know, the. I mean, I know trailer trash is a bad like term and stuff, but like as someone who like grew up around a lot of, I feel like that's adjacent to like the people I grew up around. It's like we were rural or like trailers and stuff like that. So I'm not meaning that to be derogatory. I'm just saying there is a specific culture around there that is more appropriative of black culture than a lot of other, than like TikTok culture even. Like I grew up around, oh my God, I was about to say a term and I'm like, I don't know if this is offensive or not. Because like it was just how we referred to like white people who acted like they were like black gangsters and listened to rap and were still like excessively racist. Like they listened to country music and like normie rap. But anyway, so that's like just this whole culture that to me, Gamzee is explicitly coded like that and not black. But I can see, since it is a lot of cultural appropriation from black communities, how that could be considered black coded. That is to say, Hussey's fucking bad about race, and so I do not trust this to just be like some nice peach reference.
Okay, yeah, I just don't even know.
Right, no, for sure. I'm not even that much into that side of the discourse because it's like, I don't feel like I have stuff to say there as a white person myself. So I haven't dug too deep into it outside of like some of the more obvious stuff I know. But since this was removed, I did not know about it for a while.
I will say it would be funny if the author was not a white person and they made a character say, I feel Caucasian today.
Right.
That would be much more funny.
But Hussey is pretty excessively white.
Yeah.
There's a point where you ask, is Lil Cal the true final boss? And I'm not saying that's anything. I just want to highlight it. Whether that's just because I think it's fucking funny, or whether because it says something later, or whether because I think Domi just needs to hear that you wrote that down as the resident Lil Cal enjoyer. You will not know my motives until the end.
Lil Cal was quite creepy in this chapter.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. There's so much that happens in this. I had like legitimately like 3 pages of notes. Thank you to Domi for composing the theme song and editing the episode. You can find more of her work at soundcloud.com/dominothief. Shout out to our fakest fan tier supporters, Danny the Spoon Lord and Tezrak. You can become a supporter and receive early episodes and bonus content for as little as $1 a month over at ko-fi.com/jaxyaks, or simply give a one-time tip.
For information on and links to my other projects, head over to jaxyax.com. Thanks again for listening.